was, cross-reactive with the serotype 1 anti-pneumococcal serum. So what I'm trying to say is that, it's not a pneumo for sure. It is a mitis. Actually, from the 5 mitis that we found, they represent 3 different clones, and they all had the expression of serotype 1 capsule. Some came from Leach positive specimens, other came from Leach negative specimens. So even the Leach negative specimens, we are finding like our prevalence of serotype 1 in Leach negative specimens were like 10%.
But if just
can I step in?
Yeah, can I ask one more question? I just want to make sure. So if you grew that, so historically, if you did, if you didn't have any DNA technology, no molecular technology, and you grew that on a plate and then did a quelling, would that be a pneumococcus? I know that you're distinguishing it, but it wouldn't grow on the plate with the...
No.
Okay, so the aptogen and all that stuff you would eliminate it.
Like in the paper we have the picture. You're going to see that's a little bit even with the quelling, because the quelling, what's in the quelling, it's the anti-pneumococcal serum. So you see the expression, it's not it doesn't have the same clarity when you put like Streptococcus pneumoniae, but so you see that there is a difference there. But there is the expression.
Okay, so Christoph, I think you had a comment. So
yes, can you show slide number 48 from my presentation? I think I was not clear enough at trying to explain what's happening. 48. No, this is detection of site-specific signal. Yeah, slide 48.
You are so good.
Yeah, I don't think this is the one. Just a second. So it would be like a 5 slide earlier.
5 slides.
One more.
I'm asking for that slide.
Yeah, this one. So, are the statisticians...
That's the one that I said.
Now, can statisticians just tell me what else should be done to consider this signal here not being specific for pneumococcus? Or anyone, because this is a detection of serotypes 3 and 6C, which correlates with the signal from the day, which correlates with signal with PRB. So I consider all these signals to be genuinely generated by pneumococcus.
Okay.
Does anyone who can give big arguments why it's not why?
I think that what I was talking about was not the Leach A. So the Leach A, when you do the Leach A, again, as I mentioned, we tested for 224 known pneumococcus streptococci. We test isolates for Leach A, only 2 were positive. So the qPCR for the serotyping, so especially in our case, was the WZY gene that was positive. So and then you get the CT value. Sometimes it's very similar to the Leach A CT value, but it's not coming from the pneumococci. It came from the mitis.
Can I look at the macroarray slide from Christoph's presentation?
Well, I don't know.
No, it's Christoph, right? Macroarray slide?
This is the slides that I mentioned before. If you get the upper part over the bisector, this is what Christoph said, that's specific. And that's true because the CT for the serotype is lower compared to the CT of Leach A. However, sometimes can happen that even in the upper part can be some serotypes that are not present in the Streptococcus pneumonia, but in another pathogen. I understand that in most cases what you say it's true, and this is what we also do every day. But sometimes, especially for some serotypes, such as 5, 18, and 19F, can be. For that reason, what I said before is we should test 100 samples that are Lit-A negative to see how many of them also express those serotypes.
Just one comment. This slide represents 273 negative samples, which were negative for pneumococcus, which were tested for 2 serotypes. So it means that there was well control for the false positivity.
Yeah.
Because we test all samples. Yeah. Okay.
It's something that we could already explore, though, because as I've said, for all of our studies in the Netherlands, we already tested every single negative sample, also in every single qPCR assay that we were using. So the ones that we have highlighted in various publications and in some of the slides that we've shown, we have a number of times expressed which ones aren't reliable and have so far just excluded them entirely. But it is a really interesting point that you made, because I think what Christoph showed was like in the saliva, we saw some hits for 35B, which aligned perfectly with Lit-A, PA-B, and the 35B signal, which you'd think would be a true sample, but of course we're excluding everything. So exactly as you said, if we could make a algorithm to decide based on those, and I think maybe the Dutch data is a good place to start looking for that, because we do have the number of negative samples that came back positive for serotype out of how many negative samples were tested.
Yeah, I've seen your slides, and for that reason, it's what I said. Instead of eliminating all the 5, the 18 or 19, just saying we cannot evaluate the 5, maybe I suggest we could see which is the percentage of negative samples that are positive for 5. Which is the percentage? It's not 100%. It's 10%. Okay, we eliminate 10%. That's what I suggest.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
So Fernanda, so can you just clarify, so with the strains that look and talk and walk like pneumococcus, burnt pneumococcus, so would you expect those to be, they would not be positive on the Lit-A qPCR though, right? Or?
So that's the thing, the problem, so the isolate was not, those mitas isolates that was carrying the serotype 1 capsule, none of them were Lit-A positive isolate. But the problem then is that you don't have the isolate, you have the specimen, right? So you have this OP specimen, and you do the Lit-A on the STGG on that specimen, and then you find the Lit-A is positive, and then you do the qPCR for serotyping, and then you find the serotyping, but you really don't know if that serotype is coming from the pneumococci. And that's the problem that we are facing.
So I guess that's the argument that Christoph is trying to make, right? That it's sort of like the abundances are matching up so that it sort of increases.
So that means, Fernanda, you were not doing the culture. You directly from STGG and then you were doing this, right?
So we did the culture, and then those that were culture negative, then we did the Lit-A. And then when we did the Lit-A on those, we found Lit-A positive. And then our lab people did the qPCR for serotyping, used the Pimenta et al. Assay. And sometimes you find a zoo of serotypes, and not only serotype 1, serotype 4, 5. A lot of them may come because you have, again, in that specimen, you have a lot of other non-pneumococcal streptococci.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Christoph, just one question for me. Can you just say again, the analysis here leads you to conclude that the serotype-specific assay is specific for pneumococcal strains that have this serotype, and your hypothesis is that when the CT value, when the density of the serotype target is lower or equal to the density of the Lit-A, that you conclude from that those are true positives. Is that correct? That's your hypothesis here. But these have not been proven. These have not then been these specimens. You haven't gone back to the specimen and been successful in culturing these specimens and identifying that they really do have pneumococcus with type 3 or 6C, because these are culture negative, right?
We did it, but we don't culture everything. This is longitudinal study, so these are samples sometimes repeatedly collected from one child. So for me, it's just enough to culture pneumococcal